Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode on Up Close and Personal segment on Dope, Hot and Fresh. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and leave a comment on the videos that you watch. And let's get straight to it. Today we gathered not just to remember a name, but to celebrate a legacy. The legacy of Gert Sibande, fondly known as the Lion of the East. His courage and leadership ignited change right here in the fields of Bethal, inspiring a movement that echoed across South Africa and beyond. As we honor his memory, we also reflect on how his story can continue to inspire a new generation of change makers. Joining us is the Deputy President nationally of COSATU, Mr. Nhlanhla Duncan Luvuno, to help us unpack his remarkable journey and its relevancy today. Mr. President, welcome to Dope, Hot and Fresh.
We must maybe learn from Gert Sibande comrade and put abantu before us and sacrifice ourselves, comrade. Comrade, we are meeting at a time when our students, Basmaplaz and comrade, have been confronted by many ills. But comrade, they are even over and above the ills that are confronting them. We are seeing now global warming. These are number challenges so much. We are seeing now mechanization, which is alive, including civils. So basically, it is more relevant now than ever to talk about Gert Sibande comrade. What we are going to do, we are going also comrade to examine the evolution of the farming sector during the era of Gert Sibande and today.
Okay, Kamalami Nhlanhla Duncan Luvuno. I'm the second president of COSATU.
Gert Sibande is often called the Lion of the East. Could you please share with us who Gert Sibande was and why he in this powerful title?
I think we are in Gert Sibande District. As we are, I think that on its own it indicates the role that he played, which is a pivotal role, which emanates from this area. Gert Sibande was among the trailblazers that during the apartheid system, they were the ones to say enough is enough. They are going to confront the brutal system of apartheid, more especially in the farming industry. Was among the people that have exposed a number of ills that were happening in the farming industry, equally with Abu Root Fest as well during that particular time of the apartheid. So basically, we're just now commemorating them, Abu Gert Sibande, because it is very important that perpetually we're able to celebrate these giants so that we remember where we come from. Because generally what used to happen is that young people, they forget who are these heroes and heroines that came before us. So it's very important that each and every year we perpetually remember them so that we can recommit and reflect on what needs to be done moving forward and also celebrate what they've done for us, because Tina ourselves were leading now, we're given these positions on the silver platter. We never participated in the liberation struggle. We're given this on the silver platter. The least we can do is to honor their memory, that we recommit ourselves in making sure that what is stood for, what we fought for, more especially in the farming industry, we continue doing it as a COSATU.
Gert Sibande was born in Emelo, District comrade. It was then called Eastern Transvaal, like Mpumalanga comrade. Waqala ukusebenza comrade in the farm at the age of 8. Enjoy the luxury that we are enjoying today, comrade. Ukuthi ke umuna 8, primary or early childhood development and all those things, comrade. But that's got a comrade besatu and so on and so forth. So was saying that at the age of 8, comrade, you are what you call in the farming, comrade. So basically, what did it mean, umuna 8, in the farming sector, comrade? His early experiences, comrade, exposed him by the mere fact that he started working at an early age. He was exposed to harsh realities of farm labor, comrade. As we know, how difficult is the environment in the farming, comrade. How difficult it is for an 8-year-old, comrade.
Many young people may not fully understand the role of the farm workers in the liberation struggle. How did Gert Sibande activism among farmers workers in Bethal area shape the broader anti-apartheid movement?
Well, we will know that Bethal has always been famously associated with a crop of Amazamban. They were doing very well, Amazamban. And we'll remember that at some point there were times whereby people were even buried as manure where they were planting Amazamban, which is potatoes. So Gert Sibande was among the people that they made the point that they've raised these particular issues. Because agriculture, it plays even now, even during the liberation struggle, even during the apartheid, it played a pivotal role in terms of the economy. Because without food, we're nothing. And we know that as a developing country, potatoes, they play a pivotal role in our food system in the country. So young people, it's very important that we continuously or perpetually celebrate these things so that they will know who are these people. Why today we are having laws, why now farmers, they are even able to get a minimum wage, though we know it is not a living wage, a minimum wage. Now farmers now are getting a minimum wage than before. A minimum, though we do know that we still have a long way to go, but we have opened the door. They are no longer being paid willy-nilly or with a sack of potatoes and so on and so forth. So we're saying that young people must be reminded where you come from so that we don't forget. If you don't know where you come from, it's easy not to know where you are going.
And Gert Sibande worked closely with journalists to expose farm injustice in the late 1940s. So can you tell us more how his collaboration investigative journalists helped to bring an international attention to struggle here in Bethal?
Well, you'll remember the journalist, among others, that Gert worked with, it was Ruth First, Komanisi, whom was a journalist. And we remember that it was important because if you are in the farming industry, is an industry that is isolated or on the outskirts whereby people cannot see what is happening, the daily struggles of the farm workers. So it was very important during a particular period that we are able to bring attention of the international arena. They are able to see what is happening. Because without journalism, I think it played a pivotal role because the people that supported us during the liberation struggle, they couldn't have known or see what was happening in the farming industry, most especially in South Africa, because we were very good, even during the apartheid era, we were very good in terms of producing and taking our potatoes overseas and everywhere. So it was very important that they know that these potatoes, they have blood, they have been produced with blood. So it was very important that Aborut First and their colleagues to bring that thing to the fore so that it can be seen internationally and so on and so forth.
There was the issue of starvation of farmer wages. There was also fiscal abuse. The agriculture, the sector where Gert Sibande worked, which is farming, it was playing a pivotal role in the economy. But then, even its footprint comrade were able to, during that particular era, even now, Amazamba and the comrade, the SWAT distributor, were among the leading countries exporting in Amazamba. Comrade, the lucrative industry with farming during that particular era. That is why Amazamba and Okwara comrade to an extent that we're a favorite destination for Europe and all these countries in terms of Amazamba and so on and so forth. Gert Sibande comrades during their era, they are saying that Amazamba ubungataka nguthi umanyora comrade. Kanti uma at some point bekshaya bekubulala belungu or bekulumisa ngezinje bebagubhela kule emasimini. So that is why we are not umanyora strong. That is why Amazamba is comrade. So what does it mean at the age, an 8-year-old being exposed to those things comrade?
Today youth face different challenges, but the spirit of activism remains important. What lesson from Gert Sibande leadership and courage can young people draw to address today's socio-economic issues?
I think indeed we are very correct that the challenges are different, but I think Frantz Fanon teaches us that each and every generation, they have their differences, they have different challenges and so on and so forth. Hence, Fanon reminds us that each generation must find or determine its generational mandate. They must fulfill it or betray it. Their generational mandate now, the generational mandate of Gert and his cohort during the particular era was to liberate us. We are being liberated now. Young people now, they need to continue that they safeguard the gains that we have amassed so that we can be able to advance with the new things. But what is important that they can learn from Comrade Uba and Gert is that he didn't sit. He didn't say, hey, I can test Ngayenza. He took a decision to say, for the benefit of the generation after me. We're going to fight tooth and nail so that we can challenge head-on the system of apartheid. So I think the general mandate of this cohort of young people that we're having, their generation, they must be able to make sure that they uproot the corruption that is confronting us. That is why we're having this unemployment. Among other ills that is perpetuating the unemployment and so on and so forth, is issue of corruption, is issue of governance as well, we know. So young people, they must stand up on their own and say, we're confronting the system, because they cannot be bench homers. They cannot be just grandstanders and just complain and so on and so forth. They must stand now and take this thing head on of unemployment, because ourselves or the leadership that we're having, the cohort, the elders that we're having now, they might not be prioritizing the issue of unemployment. They might not even have a best interest at heart of young workers. That is why they need to be reminded by young people. Because if you remember very well, it has always been in the revolution itself, it has always been the young people, has always been in the forefront. You can remember in 1945, 43, the cohort of Mandela and so on and so forth, they made the point that we're having a program of action which was adopted by the ANC in 1949. You will remember that in 1976, young people, they've always been at the forefront of struggle, at the forefront of the revolution, because young people, they're impatient by nature. That is why it's very important that, because if you're going to say young people must wait until 2030, some people will be dead by 2030. So it's very important, very surely, that people must be able, young people, to say, Tina, in 2030, people must account. When you'll be dead in 2010, Tina, now we must account. This is what we want as young people.
Gert Sibande answered the call which was posed by who's that comrade, Franz Fanon, who said each generation must discover their generational mission, fulfill it or betray it. Gert Sibande comrade, him and his generation, they co-founded the Farm Workers Association in the 1930s. In the 1930s, this was the real life of the history. To an extent that comrade, posthumously, Umasika Shonile, he was given an order of Lutuli in silver for his exceptional work for improving farm workers' condition and fighting a non-racial, democratic South Africa. That is why comrades, even today, we are proudly in Gert Sibande municipality.
This memorial lecture takes place in the heart of Bethal, where much of Gert Sibande activism began. What role do you think local communities and youth should play in preserving his legacy and ensuring his history continue to inspire a future of generations?
I think I think it's very important that we commend the COSATU in Mpumalanga, but most importantly, COSATU here, COSATU local of Gert Sibande, by saying that let's commemorate, let's remember, let's reflect on these comrades that came before us. Then they can learn and take lessons and say, what is it that we must do moving forward? But it's very important. They will know that we are in Gert Sibande, but it's very important that we remind each other. We remind each other who was Gert Sibande, what did do, why it's important for us to always learn about these particular people, because basically it means by doing this, they are committing themselves to say, we want to live the values of Gert Sibande. Gert Sibande will never die. His memory will never die if Tina was still available, if Tina was still alive. His memory will live on by executing, making sure that the gains that we've amassed, even post of a democratic dispensation, will be able to defend this thing and make sure that the Bethal continues to be in the map. Because Gert Sibande said, no, I'm from the small town of Bethal, but he said, it doesn't matter where you come from, but you can make an effect. Look now, it's celebrated. We are having almost the region called Gert Sibande. Someone who decided and said, enough is enough. So it simply means that if these young people, because now they are very advantageous, we're having social media, we're having AI, we're having a lot of things at our disposal to fight this ill that is confronting us. It doesn't matter where you come from. Gert Sibande has shown that regardless where you come from, but you can make a difference.
Black farm workers were subjected to the near slavery conditions. They were also working comrades from sunrise to sunset to match the pay. During that time, there were key legislation, among others, was the Native Labor Regulation Act of 1911, and the Native Service Contract Act of 1932, which institutionalized in the oppression of black workers. There was past laws which were often forced into farm labor under coercive schemes. The sector, comrade, it was very difficult. That is why we are now talking about the potato boycott. In 1959, the ANC launched a potato boycott to protest the exploitation of farm workers. While Gert Sibande's activism contributed to the boycott, it was initiated, this boycott was initiated by Robert Resha of the ANC, which also formed part in the ANC anti-pass conference. Resha was the one. That is why it's very important to talk about these people as well, to talk about the Mumala first, because they were there, it was their generation. It was what they achieved as a generation, comrade. So, the boycott, comrade, disrupted the local potato market and highlighted the abuses within the farm labor system.
What message you wish the youth of Bethal and Governing Mbeki and Gert Sibande can take from this memorial lecture that you're here to deliver today?
Well, I think for me, the message that I'm bringing to the fore from the Central Executive Committee is that young people or the community of Bethal, they must remember the role that they've played during the liberation struggle. And their role during the liberation struggle doesn't necessarily mean that it has ended, because now this democratic dispensation, we've got this democracy now. They must remember that the struggle continues. There is unemployment which is rife in the midst of having power stations closer to Gert Sibande and so on and so forth, having mines which are closer, but we're having unemployment, we're having corruption that is very rife in this province as well and in the country as well. Young people must take it upon themselves and say, enough is enough. We're going to make sure that we determine our destiny. We're not going to be controlled by political elitism, like ourselves, whom we are nationally, who determine for them. Because in our just elite, they're the top. They must themselves here and change the course of saying that where do they want to see Bethal? Where do they want to see Virginia? Where do they want to see on the ground what needs to happen moving forward? Because it's entirely in their hands. If Gert Sibande and their cohort done what they've done during their era, at their disposal now, young people, the community, we are having everything at our disposal, and we are having a democracy to be able that we can fight these ills openly and unapologetically.
It was important for us as Dope, Hot and Fresh, an independent media platform from Governing Mbeki and Gert Sibande District, to profile this Gert Sibande Memorial Lecture, because this story belongs to us. It was born in our soil and shaped our people's spirit. Honoring Gert Sibande, it's more than remembering history. It's about reigniting pride, courage, and activism among today's youth. As local storytellers, we believe it's our duty to amplify voices and moments that reminds us where we come from and inspire where we are going. A big thank you to the COSATU Federation and Mr. President Nhlanhla Duncan Luvuno for the exclusive interview of this memorial lecture. To the COSATU family, City, Qina Msebenzi, Qina. Dope and Fresh, we say thank you.